Okay, welcome to the Ultrarunning Sam Podcast, but with difference.
Yeah, welcome to the Ultrarunning Sam Podcast. We have here our podcaster in residence for the Spine Week. Bringing you all the updates from the inside.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This is obviously the best time of the year, favourite week of the year, Spinemas, as I like to call it. So the purpose of this podcast in residence basically is that all through the week we're going to be bringing you interviews, behind the scenes interviews on course possibly, with all the runners, and also sort of behind the scenes with people involved with the race, and trying to sort of put out some content as the week goes on. What do you think that we're going to achieve with this, Will?
I think you are going to gather a lot of epic stuff over the next week. We've got an incredibly exciting set of races. We've got some very spiny conditions, and I'm looking forward to what you get up to, pal.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So this is it. Stay tuned, and every couple of days we'll be putting out a podcast, hopefully, and just see what the week brings. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Thanks. Okay, Dougie Zinnis, welcome to the Ultrarunning Sam Podcast in residence at the Spine Race. I think that is the official title.
Hello, you alright?
Yeah, it's good to see you and have a chat with you. You've managed to get through kit check, so did you one of the unfortunate ones that had to have a full kit check?
Yep, full, everything, yeah. But you know, it means I've got everything, so that's good.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
I've not forgot anything.
Yeah, that is a good point actually. Yeah, if you get a full kit check, then at least you know that you've not forgotten anything and left it in the car. Something like that. So how are you feeling about this year's race?
Yeah, I feel good physically, mentally. I'm ready for a challenge. Conditions are my conditions. Snow's down, so I like it. It's forecast a bit of rain later on in the week, so we'll see what the valleys are like later, further up. Hopefully we'll get in front of the front and it'll stay cool all the way. But we'll see. It's another challenge, isn't it?
That's it. Something else.
Something else to solve.
Yeah, another problem to solve in the biggest problem solving race that you can do.
It's like a massive escape room, isn't it? Where you've got to get out.
Yeah, I've never been that great at that.
No, I'm better at these ones than I am in the escape rooms.
Yeah, well, I suppose actually, it's problem solving. It's something that I suppose we as men are sort of more geared towards, but then the women are doing great guns, aren't they? And they're amazing. Everybody's watching the women's race this year. They're really
it's going to be good.
Going to be really good. There's a lot of contenders. How are you feeling about competition on the men's race?
Yeah, there's quite a good front pack. You know, there'll be a good 5 or 10, won't there, setting off. So we'll see. There's got to be a couple of unknowns as well. Some really good runners. Not as many as last year on the speedy side, but there's some really good grafters this year. Yeah. Which is what this race needs, really, a grafter. So I think you'll see a lot more of the top end finishing this year because of that. Yeah,
because that was the thing that we've seen, haven't we? We've seen sort of like carnage at the front, haven't we? When everyone's gone out particularly too fast, I don't know, or whether
it's more of they've gone out treating it as a running race, not a grafting race. Yeah. I think there's a big difference in it.
Yeah. How are you sort of with the weather that we've got? How is that kind of changed as your race plan changed, or do you sort of just take whatever conditions come at you as a rule anyway?
I've got a kit in my bag, in my dry bag today. To cope with different conditions, you know, if it gets sloppy or whatever, I've got different footwear with, you know, really good like fell shoe grip on them, which I wouldn't wear from the start, but halfway through your feet are not in the best of shape anyhow, so I don't see any difference in putting them on then. So it's just, you just got to deal with it. Everybody's got to deal with it, and you know, hopefully there is these challenges because whoever deals with them better. It's not just about speed, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What do you think is your sort of your strong points then compared to other people that are in the race?
I'm stubborn. and
It's a good quality for an ultra runner.
Yeah, I'm stubborn, and you know, it got me into a lot of trouble when I was younger. But in this race, it's it's done me proud, I suppose. But it pushes you through. You know, you have a lot of bad times. You have a lot of times where you're just in a zone. You've got big chunks of this race. You're in the zone, but you've got to push yourself in the zone. So if you slow down, I'm good at not faffing with kit. You know, pretty organised with my dry bag, pretty organised with my kit. I know where my kit is, what I need, and I know which order to use it, what to have handy. But that's just from experience of races, really, you know.
Yeah, I know I've seen that firsthand. I remember seeing you the first time I saw you while I was on the checkpoint at Middleton, as was, when it was at the church in Middleton, and I remember seeing how quickly you sort of got all your gear together and you were ready to go. And I think you were like, I think at that point you were waiting for James, I think, to sort himself out.
King of faff.
I've got empathy for him though, because I realised that as I've got older, I've got more of a faffer, whereas I used to be able to just sort of jump out of bed and get my gear on and go out the door. Now it's, as I've got older, it's taking me like I have to have at least an hour to get myself sorted, do my little routine, and I think it's just part of getting old. Maybe I'm not old enough yet. Younger, I'm 20 in my head.
I am as well. Yeah, I'm almost 20. I'm 22 at the moment, just twice.
Just had a hard paper round.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So what are you hoping to get out of this race then? Are you going to be like pushing the pace, trying to get to the front, or are you going to see how the race unfolds and then make moves later on?
Well, what I've looked at my boundaries, what I set for the last few races. I don't like to push my boundaries because then you break down, and then your race is over. So I've found a few kinks in my boundaries which I think I can push. So I'm going to have a little go at pushing these boundaries and see what happens.
That's interesting. Yeah. So, but it's not necessarily like taking undue risk.
No, it's nothing to do with risk. It's more of pushing a certain pace for longer in a certain area, or you know, sometimes I might see a section. Example, come out of Alston, going over the bogs before you get to the wall. When you get to the wall, it's just a downer because you can't get any pace going. It bugs it all up. So to counter that psychologically, which is what I think helps me a lot, I'll try go into it on a big high. So I'm going to try and smash it all the way to it, and then when I slow down, I can get my rest psychologically and get the wall out of the way. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
I can rest. Like we were just mentioning outside, when you get to a nice steep hill, you can have something to eat. You can get your breath back. So when I get to the wall, hopefully, I can just concentrate on doing that rather than getting to the wall and think, my pace is gone. But it's a planned pace.
Yeah, that's really clever actually, isn't it? That's taking advantage of the course rather than the course taking advantage.
So I've got to try and take advantage of it before I get to it. No, as long as I get to it, touch wood. But they're all big ifs. Yeah. Look, we were saying earlier to when people have asked us on the media team for like predictions on who's going to do what. You know, we've sort of said you can only predict, so you can predict as much as you like, but that's the thing with this race, isn't it? That things can change in a heartbeat, and you know, someone that's doing really well can have an unfortunate fall or twist something. We've seen, you know, all the guys at the front. Things can go wrong. The best laid plans. That's best laid plans.
Work out, do they?
No, never. I mean, if I have ever had a kind of a plan as I go into it, it's never been the same. You know, in every race I've had, there's been different highs and different lows. But that's what ultra running is about. And it's about picking yourself off flat carpet. But if you can keep your goals small as well as you go along. If you have a bad section, you've got another small goal to go at, so you've got a win coming up. So I pick my goals very small. So I've got lots of little wins rather than waiting a long time. And if you don't get that big win, you get a big low.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
So,
Do you have like an A goal, B goal, and a C goal with races, or is it not that defined?
No, yeah, I always go into it thinking, well, you know, I'd like to beat my time. I'd like to push myself 5% better. You know, kind of push myself 5% better. But then I'd have to break it down. Such a long race, there's so many things to break down. So there's a lot of places where I could improve. But does that negate, not improving in a different area? I might get worse. So, yeah, it's a lot about sleep tactics. You know, in 22, I was really tired. No, 23, sorry. I'm getting confused now. In 2023, I was so tired. I lost about an hour and a half on the wall again. This is why I think about tactics for wall, because it's such a horrible place. But I think a lot of that year when I got to the wall, I was so tired, I was so despondent, was because of 2022 when there was the diversion. We had an extra, what seemed like 100 million miles down the wall. I've seen all of it now, I don't want to see any more of it. So when I got to it, I was thinking, not this again, you know. This wall. Yeah, and yeah, it wasn't a good year, that 23 for me at that point. Although it was a good year after, because I met Joe leaving, and so it was good crack for the rest of it. Yeah. So I need to get to that wall in a better place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've got a few things what I think might help. We'll see.
Yeah, looking forward to see how you put this race together. It's definitely going to be a race that's going to throw up some interesting things from the front of the pack, and all the way through the race is going to be, you know, people that are sort of coming into the race that have never experienced these conditions before, and people like yourself that have sort of been through every kind of weather on the spine. But I suppose that is the beauty of the spine, isn't it? It always gives you something different, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's all different, and you're going to different counties, and each county's got a different weather system. Each county's on a different altitude, so you're dropping down into valleys what can be bog baths, and then you're back into nice crisp conditions, so it's how you deal with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, appreciate you coming and giving us a few minutes of your time, Dougie. It's good to see you again, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you do tomorrow. So I wish you all the best, mate.
Thank you. Take care.
Cheers, mate.
What do you think it's going to take to win the race this year? People running to time? Are people running to position?
I think what one thing is running to the conditions, isn't it? So sometimes you have a schedule in mind, which you have to be really careful of with the spine race, but then the conditions just slow you right down.
Yeah.
And then they might change, which looks like it is quite changeable this year. And then for me, in the second half of the race, it's managing sleep deprivation and
risks.
Yeah, risks. Gambling, as we both have, racing each other. Gambling on, actually, I'm only going to sleep 30 minutes here because the other person will catch me up.
Yeah.
But then, knowing if you reduce your sleep, you might not move as well. And it's such a hard... Like, we've probably both got it right and got it wrong at times.
And I suppose it's it's having the fitness to get yourself into a position where those risks are worth it. For example, is it worth risking if you're in 6th place, behaving like we've behaved when we're on the podium already? And, you know, that's a really interesting dynamic. You're relying on people to make mistakes to move you up the field, or do you stay with the front, do you take the risk and take the opportunity when it presents itself? You know, the amount of sleep I had last year, obviously, if I was in 4th position, I wouldn't have had the stimulus to do what I did. So it's getting further north with that emotion and mindset.
As in, because you're right at the front of the race, you're more engaged, you're more...
I've got an opportunity, and that's what pulled out my performance, and maybe something similar to yourself before, but it's manifesting that scenario on such a long race. It takes 2.5 days to do that, which is extremely difficult. But I think that's the most powerful thing about this run, this length of run. Staying in the race to create a scenario where you can be your best. And I think calculations go out the window with that.
But last year you dropped back to like 4th place quite early on.
Yeah.
There won't have been that many minutes between 4th and 1st, but maybe half an hour or more.
Yeah, half an hour, yeah.
When that happens to you, how were you, like, what were you thinking? Were you still confident there was enough time to claw that back, or were you starting to worry that
I was just saying, stay in the race and create them opportunities later on in the race. Stay in the race now. Deal with the moment you're in. When them opportunities come, you've got to take them later on in the race. And then in the end, I managed to manifest that scenario when we were on Cross Fell. And I just think those dynamics of race, just you've got to get to Langdon Beck, and then the race changes from there, evolves.
Do you
massively.
think the race starts from Langdon Beck?
Yeah, because that's where the elite runners will. That's where they should sleep. No one has ran a fast time and slept at Hawes. Not that, in my knowledge, in the
Not in the sort of current generation.
No. So you've got to get 107 or 8 miles into the race, dark and deep and difficult. You've got to get in there and get out of there. And the mindset's got to be Langdon Beck's the first big rest.
And then last year, I'd rather talk about the year before, but last year, did your sleep strategy? Did you have a sleep strategy? Did you stick to it, or did it evolve?
I was just going to do the bare minimum to win the race, and then when I realised I was onto something, it was just respond to that moment right there. So I hadn't written anything down, I hadn't thought about anything. Just respond to the moment you're in, the position you're in. Let that dictate your decisions.
It's almost a dynamic sleep strategy.
Just do the bare minimum to win the race, and then obviously things elevated a little bit beyond that, and I don't quite know what happened there, but that I didn't restrict myself in any way. I don't think you should restrict yourself in a race like this. Either side, whether it's a good or a bad scenario that comes out, be open-minded.
We probably both agree, like, if you're trying to win the men's race or do very well in the men's race,
yeah,
you go all the way to Langdon Beck without sleeping.
100%.
What about after that? Did you sleep did you sleep again, other than power naps on the trail?
No, so I had half an hour in Langdon Beck, and then the rest of the 24 minutes was out in the rough.
Trail naps.
I just think, like, professional experienced runners, you can't look past Langdon Beck. Like, deal with the cards you dealt at Langdon Beck. I think you're a fool if you think I'm gonna get to Ulster, I'm gonna sleep 17 minutes and be out the door. You know, I got into Ulster with this emotion, and John was there, and he was telling me this and telling me that, and I just like, right, this is the moment I'm in. Deal with this right now. Get out. And if I'd have calculated this, I would have restricted myself and never ran 72.55, 100%. Whereas, I mean, are you asking yourself them questions and responding to what you've got in front of you, or were you thinking? Because the dynamic was I was in front of you, so were you thinking, what's Jack doing?
Well, I go into the race thinking, if all goes, I think you have a plan and you know that it might not work. So you have a plan, but you're going to be flexible with it. And my sleep plan would always be, hopefully you're okay to get to Langdon Beck without sleep. And the key thing with the spine race compared to other 200 milers is there aren't many opportunities to sleep. So you almost got now or never, not now or never, but now or not for another day. So yeah, get to Langdon Beck and have some kind of sleep and reset and a good feed.
And think.
Yeah, and then, but I always thought, and most people who have gone on and done really strong runs, they've had another sleep later on, usually at Bellingham. And that's almost, actually it was possibly Jasmine Paris that pioneered that sort of. So I always thought I'm going to have to lie down again at some point.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, other things come into it, don't they? Like the weather. And I was getting underfueled. I was having some fueling issues that meant I got underfueled. So I did sleep again at Bellingham. But by then, yeah, you pulled away enough from me that it was kind of done.
I remember waking up at Langdon Beck after the half an hour sleep, and I was in agony. Everything was starting to recover and regenerate, and I thought then, like, I'm not sure if I sleep, it might be a risk, and I might wake up and not feel as good as I did. So I just thought, I'm cutting that out. I thought, I'm onto something so good at the minute that if I sleep, I might compromise this. My mind was sharp. Yeah, I was seeing Simon Cowell in the snow doing press-ups and stuff. But I just thought that my body was in such a place that if I slept and the body started to regenerate or change something, I'm actually jeopardising how fast I can run. So when I slept was literally, well, I'm going to collapse. I've got to lie in the snow for 10 minutes. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because I did.
Because it takes time to get the body back on side once you've had a sleep.
Yeah.
Is it worth it?
So it can be almost counterproductive to stop if you're feeling good.
Yeah,
that
agreed.
Must have, yeah, and when that sort of phased out,
yeah,
that feeling, then you'd have a power nap on the trail. You did that, what, 2 or 3 times?
Yeah. So.
And they worked every time?
It was more to just reset the brain and just try and show a little bit more composure, I suppose. That's what I was after. But when I did the half an hour at Langdon Beck, I could just feel the body like, I don't know if I want to get... No one wants to go back out there, but I just felt like, I don't think I've got what I needed from that. And obviously you're not sleeping in the Ritz, it's a little bit rough and ready, but I just felt like I'd maybe taken a sidestep instead of a recovery. And that's just purely through experience, isn't it? And there's a hell of a lot of runners on the start line this year, male and female, who've got experience. And I believe you've got to do this race once or twice and then you race it. And we'll see if some of the competitors have got that patience. You need to finish it, then you can learn.
Yeah.
John's got that.
Yeah, and that's what I did as well. I did 2014, the third ever edition, and I'd only done 100 miler before that, so I sort of threw myself into the deep end, and then I just absolutely loved it, and straight away couldn't think of anything else except waiting for next year to come around so I could do it again. But this time it was, firstly less kit, so you're not carrying as much, and then I knew much more about sleep strategies and how to do it, and I was more competitive that second time, as you would hope. But it takes this. You need to learn it, don't you?
Do you think there's something to be said for the runner who has got plans and aspirations, who then settles in and still finishes the race even though they've had a disastrous race? Because I remember Simon Roberts in 2020, the year I DNF'd. There was a bit of hype around Simon, and he came into the race, and by the M62 he was out of control a little bit and struggling. He settled in. He finished in 129 hours, and he got that experience. And I think there's a couple of runners on the start line they've got to get the job done this year, no matter what. Well, obviously, running with your knee hanging off is a little bit different, but earn the right to think about it differently.
Yeah. Oh no, definitely. I mean, and you'd almost say Simon has an advantage, therefore, over someone like Kim Collison.
Yes.
Who we know is...
And Simon's won the North race.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love Kim to bits, and he's a phenomenal runner. But he's had 3 goes at this and only just got really to halfway. Yeah. Because he just pushes. Yeah. And almost, I would feel like Simon, who's a similar runner in some ways, like pretty fast for an ultra runner, has that advantage of knowing what it's like.
He's done it on a bad day, and he owed it to the race to find a way through it.
Yeah.
And the race was different in 2020. So if you're talking about maybe Kim having a slightly different approach, I think John's got to have a slightly different approach with the conditions for the first couple of days, and maybe that calculated, this pace means this pace means that. I don't think the race is going to be run like that this year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We both know John a bit, and he will. He's not just here to win. He's here to set hopefully probably for the fastest time in the winter. Because he used to have the fastest time till we've both run 2 quicker times than him now, and that I think that's partly why he's back. So do you think what sort of time do you think he could run on this course, and what's possible?
I think in pristine conditions, let's say we had that last year, he can run faster than I ran, because he's got experience, he's got consistency, and he is tough. When the chips are down, he's tough. I had my moment in time, but John has spread that over a 3 or 4, 5 year career, and it's been superb. So I have no doubt that he can traverse it faster than me in the winter in ideal conditions. I just think this year's going to be different. And I know when he ran 86 hours to win the race in 2020, the year I dropped out, he didn't necessarily have his best day, but he was pushed then. If you remember, you had
Jason Cavalier brought him up in Bellingham.
Yeah, and the dynamic had changed and we raced like that in 2023. But last year I was on my own, and I had to create my own scenarios, which is interesting. If I had been, if dream scenario for the fans of the race would have been if John would have raced us last year, that would have been carnage. But that's where I just think there's more to be had, because I was racing like the clock. Whereas I wasn't actually racing a person. If you were 2 miles behind last year, I don't know how fast I would have run. I could have collapsed in the snow, and it could have been all been over, and you could have ran 73 hours. But if that race dynamic stays to the latter stages of the race on the Cheviots, and you've got 2 or 3 runners, I think that'll be fascinating.
Well, who do you think is capable of sticking with him that long and pushing?
I think the South African gentleman, Tian, I think he's got credentials, and he has, again, in the summer it's different, but he has traversed the Pennine Way in just under 71 hours in a race where I think he led out from the front and he was on his own. And I think if Kim is patient, I think he can work his way through the field and have a successful race. But there's a hell of a lot of things that have got to go well. And then there'll be people who stand out, people who we don't know. Rory Harris has had a good year. He broke my record at the Off the Dyke race. And there'll be names out there who've got a point to prove, and there's no better place to do it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun dog watching.
Sure is.
What score would you put on your FOMO? Even though we're a day out.
Well, I think 3 in a row. Like if we did 3 in a row,
Well, I just
that's.
did 3 in a row.
Did you run 3 in a row?
Yeah, that's why I'm having you off. Yeah.
That's not for me. That.
Hannah comes back for 3 in a row.
Yeah.
You've got to be careful, haven't you? Because the motivation, it's
okay, like talking about it here, like you want to be, but like when the chips are down, you're right on the brink, you're risking sleeps, you're doing everything we just spoke about. To like that's where it's got to shine through, not sitting around here having coffees and talking like it's all fun and games. Because when it gets naughty up there, that's when the emotion and the attraction to the race has got to shine through. And there'll be 5 or 6 crucial moments, I've told my clients, where you've got to realise what you're doing, you've got to know where you want to be, and you've got those behavioural patterns to come out. And for me this year, that I was not intrigued enough, so it's a no-go. And I'm moving house on Friday, and it would have caused carnage because I'd have been limping around.
Well, I'm not, partly because 3 in a row feels like enough, but also, well, enough for now. I'm certain I'll be back to do spine races, probably the long one again. But also, if I'm honest, I spent a day and a half, feeling disappointed, trying to catch you up and failing at that. And if I was in a similar scenario again, I don't know if I would carry on.
Yeah,
finish,
there's that dynamic. Yeah,
now. I've done that 4 times in the winter. I've done it other times. So I don't. Yeah.
You've had nearly every single emotion around the front of the race you can have.
Well, I finished 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, and DNF.
Yeah, and that does seem like a strategic way to do it. But you've had where you led the race, you were in control, and you had to turn back to Alston and decided to pull out. You've had the race where I made the nav error and changed the dynamic, and you were chasing me in a weird time calculation,
strange,
which was the year you won and deservedly won. And then you've had last year where you were in no man's land. Let's say, were you looking back to Conrad? I suppose you were.
Well, I did a bit, yeah, but it got safe. He overslept, I think, at Belgium. But there was always a couple of hours later in the race, so relatively safe.
So that composure and that experience I've got 2 scenarios where, I made the nav error, it was in my hands, I was trying to run away from you and I couldn't be composed enough and finish it. I've also had the race where I've pulled away and done something a little bit daft, but there's other dynamics that I've not had, which you probably have. And I suppose that's just exposure on the start line, isn't it?
I suppose.
I've never led the race at Tan Hill. I've never led the race at Hawes, not even at Malham last year. Interesting. Loads of different ways to do it.
Yeah.
Just got to stay awake.
Stay out the bogs.
So maybe we'll meet again on the Pennine Way start line.
I think there's a reasonable chance. I'll
speak to Jess and the dog.
Yeah, but it is a race. Yeah, there's so many people on the start line who are coming back for 3rd, 4th, 5th times. It's don't know. There genuinely is something special about it that both of us aren't doing it, but we want to be here, right? We want to be part of the race in some way.
Yeah.
There's just something special about it. What can you explain why it's special?
I just look at it as a massive possibility and it's a portfolio of work. You've done the Pennine Way FKTs. You've been involved in writing books and guides about it. And my trajectory in the sport, I've got unfinished business on the Pennine Way, and I want to maybe do some of the stuff you've done. And all of this emotion and feeling and being around the place, it's all growing an energy that maybe one day I've got to let out in a different environment to the spine. But you've just got to be here and exposed to it to do that. And that's the stuff I tap into when everything else is gone. So that's why I'm here. And coaching clients, I need to support them, guide them, make sure they don't make any stupid mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's having an adventure, a winter adventure in Britain. It's pretty cool when you think about it. We're right in the middle of the country. We're not all that far from like Manchester and Leeds and Sheffield, and yet you can get up on the hill. and feel miles from anywhere, especially
Exposed.
in the race like Crossvale and the Cheviots, and like you feel really remote. It's really exciting for England.
Yeah.
You know, a massively populated country, and it's really exciting. And you live all the emotions, don't you? You go through everything. I've definitely cried on the Pennine. I've yelled out loud. I've sung to myself. I've done everything. You know, I've whooped with joy. I've squealed in agony. You know, I've done everything on the Pennine Way countless times. And so you just live. You live on it. I think it's very special for that. And also, I just love. We'll find out the next few days. You just whether they're an athlete, and I've got 13 athletes here as well doing different races.
Yeah.
Just watching people try and do things that might be beyond them.
Yeah.
They're pushing to do something they're not sure if they can do. And just watching people do that is really satisfying, actually, isn't it? Really thrilling. Whether they do or not, because it's not necessarily whether they can. It's that they're willing to try, and just put everything into something. I guess take risks sounds wrong, but put themselves out there, I suppose, and just try and do something they don't know if they can do. It's amazing to watch or hear about.
For sure.
Hannah Rickman, welcome to the. I keep wanting to say the Spine Podcast, but I've been told that I'm not. I'm the podcaster in residence at the Spine race, so I'm not allowed to call it the Spine Podcast. But I keep saying it all the time, so it's probably just going to end up being that.
You call it what you want to call it.
So how are you feeling? I've literally grabbed you out of you've come out of kit check and everything.
Yeah.
is all good as far as that's concerned. So how are you feeling? Are you still?
It's good. I've got my kit check, nerves on. I have to say, I'm feeling pretty like it always, even though I know everything's in there and it's all going to be fine, it always really gets me kind of ramped up, my blood pressure high. So that's the worst of it done now.
But that is the worst of it. It's from here. It's just trying to get a good night's sleep, isn't it?
That's it. It's trying to just chill out, faff around my drop bag a few more times, make some sandwiches, go to bed was the vision for the afternoon.
Yeah.
Watch an episode of The Traitors, switch it off. Try not to watch the dots too much.
What do you do as far as like unwinding to try and get yourself to? Because it's for anyone that's done any big race, like trying to unwind the night before a race. How do you go about that?
Yeah, I'll try, as I say, I've got a few more things I need to get done this afternoon. I'll try and just get those done and then just chill, and I'll try and, I'll get as much sleep as I can tonight. If I'm a little bit nervous, then that's okay, it'll be alright. I'll probably watch The Traitors.
I think it's kind of like a given, isn't it, that you never I've never met anyone that ever slept like a baby the night before a big race.
No, last night at 2 in the morning my brain decided it was the right time to really think about what gloves I was going to need at which different points in the course and really analyse that in a lot of detail. So that wasn't particularly helpful either. I expect there'll be a bit more of that to come as well.
Oh man, is there anything you sort of you're doing with kit as far as looking at the weather going forward? It's going to be cold, isn't it? And then it's going to change possibly and warm up, and will there be a lot melting, or will it still be sort of very cold high up? Have you made any changes from last year? Mind you, last year was a very cold year as well. Is there anything that you're sort of doing differently?
Yeah, no, I think it might be a bit more changeable this year. So I think we probably are going to have one set of conditions at the start, and then maybe a second set a bit later on. So I might think a bit about how I organise my drop bag and things based on that. But I guess the other thing is, it's a weather forecast in the north of England in winter time, and especially now we're looking at what's going to happen in 3 or 4 days' time. You can't plan too much based on that. So just everything's where it needs to be, and just need to be able to adapt on the fly, I guess, a bit as well.
Yeah. How are you feeling about? Obviously, there's been a lot of focus on the women's race this year because there's quite a few of you that seem to be in the limelight this year. How are you feeling about all of that? Do you feel any pressure, or is it sort of you just going to run your own race regardless?
No, I think it's really exciting. Hey, and I'm trying. I think it's been a really positive thing to have such a there's an amazing women's field, a lot of them are my friends. It's a really great group of strong women, and that's just a positive. So I think there's there would have been a version where my brain decided to get really stressed and nervous about it, but actually that's not how it feels. It feels really exciting. It feels exciting to be out there with a good group and with friends, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what we all get up to out there. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. That is for sure. It's going to be good. Yeah. Have you sort of planned all of your food and everything? I know that's something that you're into, aren't you? What food you're going to have and.
Not particularly, no, just like, yeah, a whole variety of stuff, I think, trying to have different options, start with some more kind of sweet stuff and then move into some more real food as we go on. So, and again, just, I think the thing that might change is I think we might just be moving a bit, looking at the Challenger South and how fast they're moving at the moment. I think we might be moving pretty slowly, so I think some of the legs might be taking longer than, they might otherwise have done, so just adapting to that.
Yeah. How do you sort of cope with that mentally? Is it something that with it being slow at the start, is that a frustration for you, wanting to get further up the course quicker, or are you just kind of happy to just go with whatever you've got?
I think it is what it is, isn't it? It's a winter race, you're going to be moving as fast as is sensible for the conditions, like you're always going to have to adapt. In some ways, if there's something slowing you down a bit earlier on, then that can be a blessing in disguise because it stops everyone setting out way too fast and doing anything stupid in the first bit, so it might not be a bad thing. And I think with all of these, you can make, it's like they always say, like everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, like you can make a plan, but on the spine you always just have to be able to adapt it and deal with whatever comes up, so that's the idea.
Yeah, that's it. Amazing, awesome. Well, I don't want to keep you, from your episode of Traitors and your afternoon nap. So I appreciate you coming and giving us a few minutes of your time, and we look forward to seeing what happens tomorrow in the race. Thank you.
Cheers. Nice one. Cheers.
Okay, Kim Collison, welcome to the Ultrarunning Sam residency at the Spine Race. So, for all intents and purposes, this is the Spine Race podcast. Although I don't think they're actually officially letting me call that. It's just I'm taking some liberties with that. So, how are you? How are you feeling?
Really excited. Looking forward to my fourth attempt at Spine.
Fourth time lucky.
Fourth time lucky. It's a new catchphrase.
I'm sure it'll catch on. Yeah. How are you feeling about the conditions? I know you've obviously over the years you've got so much experience with like poor conditions and ice and snow and sub-zero temperatures. How are you sort of feeling about the race coming up?
Yeah, I think there's looking forward to a bit of different conditions to deal with, which always makes the same journey a little bit more interesting when it's slightly different conditions. Otherwise, you're just facing the same views, so it just makes it nice from that perspective. I imagine one of the challenges will be just getting used to moving slightly slower earlier, or us not to be hitting the checkpoints as quick as have done in previous years because of the snow on the ground, and just trying to accept that that's just because of the conditions and not because we're putting less effort in.
Yeah, because it'll be the same effort, if not more, won't it, to get over that frozen ground. Is there anything that you're sort of looking forward to seeing on the course this year?
Oh yeah, anything past Middleton will be a great thing to see, and hopefully all the way to Kirk Yetholm, and climbing up out of Bryness will be a joy. Knowing that I'm pretty much on the home leg at that point, but I'm just going to focus on what's in front of me in the current moment, really.
Yeah. How are you feeling about sort of the buzz around the race with people coming back? Obviously, you've got John Kelly and a few of the sort of ones that have been a bit more quiet on media recently, like Simon Roberts. How do you sort of approach the competition side of the race? Do you completely block it out, or are you aware of what's going to be happening around you?
Oh, I'm excited for the competition. For me, it's not just about the finish. It is about competing and racing. And getting the best out of myself, and having great athletes to compete against helps me get the best out of myself. Like at Lakeland 100 this year, it was brilliant to run with Mark and Gavin, and and that pulled us all on to getting really great times, and to be delighted with how we finished. So for me, having the depth of competition here is fantastic, and I'm going to enjoy that journey alongside and against, because a lot of the time it is a shared journey and you're spending a lot of time running together, but ultimately it does come to a point of, okay, there's decisions to be made, and do I push on, do I hold back, Do I sleep here or not? And that's all the elements of the strategy and competition in this race at this time. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited for it.
So I know we've spoken previously, haven't we, about your sort of sleep strategy. Is this something that you are going to try and implement in this race?
I will have to see how that goes. Potentially, it's still a good plan for me to try that. I mean, especially as we are moving a bit slower. Original plans might have to change. That it could be worth trying that as a strategy. But there's definitely an element of flexibility, and whether the chip on the shoulder allows it, and whether at the point I'm at horse that I can switch off plays into the decision as well. If I'm wide awake and it's 11 a.m. in the morning, it's going to be like, okay, I'm just going to have to crack on and soak up the fatigue and the tiredness and adapt to the plan.
I think that's the key into it. It's one of the biggest things, one of the infamous buzzword around the race is adaptability, isn't it? Because you from year to year, you've done the race so many years in a row that every single year something is different, isn't it? So you've got to really be adaptable to the conditions, the competition, and to your strategy and everything like that. So are you feeling you're happy and confident that you're gonna fulfil that goal to get to Kirk Yavum this year then?
Yeah, I mean, a few days ago I wrote the word confidence down on a piece of paper and wrote all the reasons why I should be confident standing on this start line, and it was a page full of different things from last year's race that gives me more confidence on that start line, that I am here, I am in good place, I've got all the skills to make it happen and to give my best, and then try and deal with the problems that do arise. But it's 268 miles. When you're pushing the red line, things jump out of the woodwork that, who knows, a mile out the road I might slip on some black ice and break a leg.
Don't say that.
But there's those things sometimes you just can't control.
Yeah, that's it.
And if that happens, I'll just have to accept that there'll be a fifth time, because I'm here to try and keep learning.
I don't want to sort of talk in a negative way, but if something did go wrong and it was a fifth non-finish, are you still determined to keep coming back and to keep doing it?
Yeah, well, it's kind of in my DNA. It's to be resilient, to kind of, okay, why did that go wrong? What can I do better this year to be better prepared for the problems that might lay ahead? So more than likely, I will be back the following year. It's just kind of until I've got that satisfaction. It just builds. It's delayed gratification on a bigger scale than most have to wait. So it's going to feel great when I do finally unlock the puzzle. Yeah,
that's it. The delayed response to it. Well, for me personally, I've seen you keep coming back to the race, and I'm really, really, really gunning for you to do it this time and to do your best. I think everyone is. I think everyone's sort of seen you, with your struggles over the years. Everyone's willing you on, and everybody wants you to get that result that we know that you're capable of. So I appreciate you coming in and giving us a quick chat, and we wish you all the best for the race tomorrow. Thanks.
Great, thanks Sam.
Okay, we're on recording. So welcome to the Ultrarunning Sam Spine Race Residency Podcast. I can't quite think of what the official name is. It's just basically it's the Spine Podcast, but without the permission of the spine. we won't break. We'll try not to break any rules as far as broadcasting goes. But welcome, James Elson.
Thank you very much.
How are you feeling now that you've got through kit check?
Yeah, good. Pretty smooth journey up on the train. and then, just anticipation basically. Kit check was fine. I didn't get hit with the full whammy, so 10 minutes or so. There's a lot to think about, a lot of little nuances and things, but it's pleased to be through it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's always that bit of relief, isn't it? That's the final stress of this race, isn't it? Well,
yeah.
If it's the final stress of this race, it's one of the final stresses of this race, isn't it? It's getting here and making sure you're here on time and you slot, and
it's nice dropping the drop bag in as well. That big bulk of stuff that you then don't have to worry about anymore.
Yeah, or that you just worry about when you get to the checkpoint that you can't find the thing that you put in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's all over the floor. So how are you feeling about the race? So I'll remind you of the podcast interview that we did where you said that you would not be coming back to this race.
Yeah. Lots of people have reminded me that on the way in, not least of which my wife. I feel really good about it. I feel really excited. I feel pretty calm, I guess. Mainly because I think the forecast, whilst underfoot has the potential to be pretty poor, overhead is, it's hard to complain about, I think. So we're going to have a cold first day, and I think the ground could be quite difficult in places. Certainly from the pace the Challenger South's gone out at, there's a bit of concern there. And then obviously a thaw through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which could make things extremely wet underfoot, but relatively benign overhead. And I'll take that. I think that's good. I am excited. I'm excited for the adventure, really.
Yeah. So how are you feeling sort of the last time you did it?
Yeah.
How were you how did that experience? Because you didn't have a great time, did you? You were not very well early on in the race, was it?
I got to Hebden Bridge. Well, before Hebden Bridge, I actually thought I was unwell. I thought I had some sort of cold that had just come out during the day. That day, if you remember, in 2023, day one of the full was pretty grotty. It was wet, sleety. It was just unpleasant, but it was hard going as well. So I was sweating up a lot. I got some of my layering wrong, and I think I basically just put myself in a hole in that first sort of 10 hours. So I took 4 hours at Hebden Bridge, basically doing nothing, really considering whether it was going to actually happen. But from the minute I left Hebden Bridge, it just got better, almost through to the finish. I paired up with 6-time finisher Matt Neal at Middleton. He's someone I've known for long time, done loads of running with, and we formed a great partnership and really enjoyed the second half, which is my favourite part of the course as well. So for me, once again this year, it will be about sort of staying steady through Hebden, having a good first night, and then looking forward to the dawn of day two, and then sort of taking stock of how things are going. Patience, that's the key really. I'm not very good at that normally, but I think here and this time I'm pretty confident I've got the approach right.
Yeah. This is the kind of race and the kind of conditions that almost forces you to be patient when because in all your years of experience of running ultras, there's times when you say, I'm going to go out slow, and then you end up like going out too quick and just going, oh well, I went out too quick. But this is the kind of race and conditions that you can't always get away with that.
Well, I think there's going out quick, and then I think there's being efficient. And for me, I actually think the best race tactics, and this is sort of borne out by what you see from the very front of the field, is to push. The gaps open up in that second half, and no one's really able to move that quickly relatively. So I think it's right to push early on, but there's going efficient and there's going too fast. And as we saw last year, the front 10 guys, quite a few of them went too fast. I won't be up that far, so it won't trouble me. I hope to make my way from a lot further back than that. That's something that I always used to, when I was more competitive 10 years ago, I would go out from the front and I would push from the start and often have my best results that way. But these days, with what I can do, that would be an absolute fool's endeavour. So I'll look to be much more efficient than most, probably nowhere early in the race, and then make my way through later on. We'll see.
Good point, efficiency over speed.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Are there any points of the race that you
looking forward towards Reading now, knowing the course and knowing what the weather could be like in different areas of the race? Is there anything you're worried about or looking forward to?
I really don't love the first day. I find the pressure. I like to be on the trail by myself, either with somebody, as in there's a pair of us moving, but not in terms of that back and forth. Your perception of effort changes. You find yourself working too hard against your wishes, but there's sort of the ebb and flow of it, and you get in these sort of mini battles within that are just meaningless in the grand scheme of things. So I like it when the race kind of spreads out and you've got that space. So the first day and the first night, a bit of my biggest concern, and after that, I love the section from Middleton across to Alston. I think absolutely magic down, Cauldron Spout Way and over Hike Up Nick. Cross Fell obviously is a big moment, but is a real change up. And from there, I think it's crazy to call the last 80 miles like kicking for home. But once you've left Alston, a lot of it breaks down quite nicely, I think, and I'm certainly looking forward to those latter stages more than the first part. Yeah,
it's almost like you're over the final hump, aren't you?
Little bit. I think psychologically, you get to what is now Langdon Beck, and you've got 50k to Alston, and then you've got 2 40-mile blocks to the finish. All of a sudden, that feels very manageable considering what you've done before, and I'm quite looking forward to that point. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming in, just giving us a few minutes of your time.
Sure.
I know it's like a stressful day, it can be stressful. I'm looking forward to sort of catching up with you as you go up the course and seeing how you get on. So
thanks very much.
All the best.
Appreciate it. Cheers, Sam.
Okay, welcome to the Spine Takeover by the Ultrarunning Sam Podcast. John Kelly.
Thank you very much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's great to see you back. So you survived kit check. So
I did. Passed every piece.
Yeah. So was there any items of contention from either side, from his side or from your side?
No, not one this year. Even showed him the spork as extra. I think this was somehow the first year that I didn't get a full kit check. So I had to make sure that I still proved the spork.
So the stars aligned for kit check. That's perfect. Yeah. So that's that stress out of the way now, isn't it? So it can always be. I don't know if is that something that has stressed you out in the past, getting to kit check.
It did this year. Just as after last year, there's a small piece that was wrong with my bivvy, and I had to get that replaced last minute. So even though you can be diligent in getting everything, it's quite the extensive document with quite a lot of fine print, and you always have that worry in the back of your mind that something isn't going to be quite right, and you're going to be rushing at the last minute to get it, or maybe you've accidentally left it in your drop bag or your clothes to start the race with, and don't have it with you. Yeah. So, but had everything.
Always read the fine print.
Yep.
That contract Lindley loves it. So how are you sort of feeling coming back? Obviously last year with your DNF, what is the feeling that you've got coming back to the race this year?
I'm excited to be here, and especially to have this opportunity to experience these true winter conditions starting out. At least we've got a lot of the white stuff out there, which I know will stick around for the first day at least before it starts warming up. Maybe a bit of rain, things could get pretty messy out there beyond that, but right now I'm just going to look forward to that first day and seeing the conditions that really I missed last year after I was forced to drop from the race with my ankle.
That's true, yeah, the proper spiny conditions that happened later in the race last year. So how is that sort of, because obviously we've all heard about how the Challenger South people have got on this morning. It sounds like they are going a bit slower than was predicted. So, knowing that information, how is that informing your race plan for tomorrow?
It doesn't really. I'll get out there and we'll see what the conditions are, and we'll adapt as the conditions change. I guess kind of the biggest question for me right now is if I start in spikes, and I think I probably will, going over the first section, probably as far as Torside, and there I might reevaluate toss the spikes in my bag and carry on. But with it actually got a few degrees above freezing today, and it was sunny out there, so there's probably a good bit of melt, but it's going to refreeze overnight. So going up Jacob's Ladder in that initial section, there could be some icy spots.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So had you sort of got something planned out in your mind about, are you going for a time or are you going for a position?
Generally, anything like this, I'm out racing it and going for position. But the first half, at least, I'm trying to run my own race and not get pulled one direction or the other. So we'll see where things are when we're a ways into it, and maybe shift gears at that point. So I have my schedule, which is really just more of a guideline than anything, and helps inform how much food I carry with me between each checkpoint, and how to time caffeine to try to stay awake. But if conditions dictate I go a bit slower or a bit faster, then that's what I'm going to do.
You are famous for liking a spreadsheet, aren't you? With
Yeah, I have one of those for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So thinking about other people on the race, is that something that you are aware of, like the people that will sort of have will have a target on your back for this race, or are you literally sort of blinkered towards competition as far as, if you're hearing about other people and what their sort of plans are for the race, is it something that affects your race, or do you sort of carry out your goal, whatever?
Yeah, not at this point. I try not to pay attention to that. A lot of times I don't even look at who is in the race beforehand, just as I want to be able to go out focused on my own thing and keeping true to my own strategy. And then once we're in a ways into the race, then I'll look around and see who's there and see what they're doing. I do expect that naturally, as we did last year, there will be kind of a group that clumps together at the front, and it won't be an appropriate pace for everyone in that group, but it makes for a good time, and it's good to have that kind of camaraderie and enjoy some company for a good section of the race. Yeah,
that's it, because it can be quite a lonely race, can't it, when you're on your own? But then some people like being out there on their own, don't they? So.
Yeah, I love that for stretches. The fifth loop at Barkley is just magical to me, and I cherish that time. And remembering my time here, I was on my own almost the entirety of 2020. There was a little bit of leapfrogging back and forth, but when I was actually out there on the course, I was on my own. And I enjoyed that. That definitely had some special, memorable sections, and I do expect that I'll have that again before the end of this race, one way or another.
Yeah, amazing. Are there any parts of the course that you're particularly looking forward to, or possibly not looking forward to?
I love the section between Middleton and Dufton. You're going up along the River Tees, and you've got the low force and high force waterfalls, followed by Cauldron Snout. There's a bit of a scramble along a rocky bank just before Cauldron Snout, which I don't enjoy too much, especially if it's a bit icy. I think it'll have warmed up by that point, though. And then coming off of Cauldron Snout, you've got High Cup Nick, which visibility permitting is my favorite spot on the course. And having clear conditions and it being daylight is kind of a rarity on the spine, but it's still there.
Yeah, last year it was clear. It was clear when I went through there, so I went through there in the early hours in the morning. The sun was up, it wouldn't be the early hours in the morning if the sun was coming up, so sort of like 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was that is the first time that I've seen High Cup Nick in like clear skies and snow on the ground. And they're my favourite sets of photos from last year's race. Yeah, it's this course is like, it can be spectacular, can't it? But if it's claggy and foggy, then it could be anywhere, couldn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, to be honest, you can say that about most British mountains.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Very true. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I appreciate you giving us a few minutes of your time, John, and we're really looking forward to seeing what you can pull out of the bag tomorrow. All the best.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Thanks, John.
Cheers.
We're the saddos who are here not racing. Well, I am.
So which shortcut did you take last year?
I had
Must have been a better one than the previous year.
No, I had a motorbike on the Cheviots.
I thought so.
I spoke to Mark Caldwell at Hut 1 and he had a pit bike there for me.
It did look that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks for finally owning up.
well, I think being back in this environment, I've just got to be honest.
Where did you stash it? Just when you hit the road at the end, just before Kirk Yetam, just put it in the hedge?
No, it was, yeah, I put it in one of them barns.
Yeah. You're such a rascal. What do you want us to do? What do you want us to talk?
So that was episode 2 of the Spine podcast, Ultrarunning Sam in residency at the Spine race for this week. So in the next episode, we'll look at some previews of Spine Challenger North and also the new race that's happening, the Spine Sprint North, which is like a tester event for this year. So stay tuned for more interviews and behind the scenes action, and we'll be right back with you within a day or so. Yeah, we'll see it. We'll see what the schedule brings, but we'll bring you the next episode. Episode 3 coming very soon. Cheers.